Welcome to One Stop Co-op Shop. Steve here with a first impressions look at Deck of Wonders. Deck of Wonders is a new game coming to Kickstarter, in which you'll be playing as, well, yourself, who has stolen the prized possession of Fate herself, the Deck of Wonders. And Fate is upset, trying to get back her prized possession and sending all these villains to come after you. So your job is to take out the villains before they take you out. In this game, you will be customizing a deck of cards, and half the deck is going to be the villain cards, and the other half of the deck you can pull from your collection. So this has a deck construction element where you can be building your deck or customizing before the game and then playing it out. But the interesting thing about this game is you're only playing with one deck of cards. The same deck of cards counts as the cards for you and for the villain you're facing off against. If you want to know more about this game, I've recorded a playthrough. Go check it out on our channel or take a look at the Kickstarter page, and there's a lot of different playthroughs out there. So what do I think of Deck of Wonders? I really like this game. I think it's very fun. However, coming from my background, it aligns to a lot of my likes. Meaning that when I grew up, I had a lot of fun playing games like Magic the Gathering. In fact, I still have my decks with me. And I liked playing it, but there were some problems with it where I don't mind, I'll play competitive, it's fine, but I love cooperative games, hence my involvement with the One Stop Co-op Shop community. And so when I was playing Magic the Gathering, it was fun, but when I came across content like these packs here, it allowed me to play cooperative, where like, cool, now we're playing together to take out a villain or some bad guy. And I really like Magic in that sense. And so from that tendency of wanting to play cooperative with also creating a deck of cards, that also spurred my interest in games like this, right? Lord of the Rings living card game. Love this game. Build a deck, try to tank out a scenario. Of course, there's a lot more living card games out there, like Marvel Champions, which is behind me on my shelf somewhere, but you get the impression. So naturally, I gravitate towards games where I'm able to customize the deck before I play. So I was immediately interested in this. And the problem with games like Magic the Gathering is, especially, oftentimes I could spend a lot of money on one card or a really big card and lay that card down, and it has a huge game effect, and it's hard for my opponent to come back against it, right? Well, not in all cases, but generally. And the interesting about Deck of Wonders, because that single deck of cards is both for you and the villain, you might not actually want to put that really good card in the deck, because guess what? If the villain pulls it and you don't, well, good luck, and I gotta deal with this really powerful effect. And I like that twist of the game. It felt different. I had to think about how to build my decks differently than these other games I've mentioned. And I really enjoyed that. The other thing I experienced when playing this game is the difficulty level. Now, the playthrough I posted was the best I've ever done in this game, ever. It was really surprising. But honestly, I worked at it. Meaning that, like, when I was playing this game, I lost maybe a dozen games in a row, something like that. And it was actually getting kind of frustrated. And I was like, wow, what's going on? Like, is this game just super hard? Is it not balanced right? They have all these thoughts are creeping in my head. But I started like, well, maybe I'm approaching it differently. And so there's definitely some good strategies to playing this game and some bad ones. And I was following some bad ones. I'm like, well, obviously I play this card to approach the system this way. And that's not necessarily true here. There is a delicate balance on how you want to play cards. And it kind of threw me for a loop because the cards are, for the most part, free to play. It's like, well, why wouldn't I lay this down? Why wouldn't I play it right now? And if you do that at the wrong times of the game, you will lose the cards because you'll lay them down and the villain has the opportunity to attack you right away. And if you aren't ready to have some survivors or a way of defending them or some way of responding to those threats, you're just laying down fodder for them to chew through. And if you also lay out your whole hand, then you're top decking, so you don't have those choices. When I'm playing this game, I get this feeling of waves in the sense that, I start off pretty weak and the villain's pretty strong and I struggle, and eventually I get the upper hand and like, cool, let me press attack, I'm doing really well. And then a couple flips of the card and boom, I'm back down. And like, well, I now have no resources, I don't have any creatures out. What do I do? And I have to like figure out how to survive and maybe build back up until I get it back up and push the attack again. So generally it feels very tense and I'm like, is now the time to push? Do I pull back? Do I hold these cards in my hand? What do I do? Now with the playthrough I posted, I won by a large margin, but I also got very lucky. I knew I was pushing the envelope because if one card flipped, it would wipe my whole board. So it's very interesting how you can card count this game. Like, oh yeah, you know what? I played one of those guerrilla tactics. So now I know there's only 3 more in the deck, and I know about how many cards in the deck. I can kind of process those odds and say, you know what? Now is a good time to press attack. Now's the time where you don't do that. In addition, there's certain cards you can add to the deck to detriment the villain. In the sense that, like, well, oftentimes when I need to play cards, there are cards I need to discard. So maybe I put a card in the deck that honestly isn't very useful to either of us, but at least I can use it for discarding fodder to play for a card I actually want to play. And if the bad guy draws it, well, then he's stuck with a bad draw. So there's some really nuanced and interesting decisions to be made in the game, and I really appreciated that. The other thing that needs to be mentioned is I love the art in this game. It is awesome. It's my style with like whimsical, fun, and I appreciate that it wasn't just your generic fantasy art. Well, it is fantasy art, but it's not like, you know, goblins and orcs and everything we're used to seeing. It's a nice twist on things. And plus, I mean, who doesn't love a pixie red and Corey? Come on, that's pretty awesome. Now, this game does have a legacy element. So that may interest some people, may push some people away, and there will be stickers involved. So I won't get into any more details on that, but I know for some people, people like that, other people they don't. And for what I get the impression of, because I've only seen a small portion of it, it looks like the legacy element is going to be pretty fun. And it's going to be a fairly big part of the game, right? As you're playing the game, you're going to be keeping track of how well you're doing and unlocking certain things that are going to change the way you play. So now you're constantly in this flux. So once I like figure out how to face off Cullen, like you saw in my playthrough, I did really well. Well, guess what? I did so well, now I'm going to open the pack, and now I'm going to have to deal with something else that's going to have to change up my strategy, how I faced them. And looking at the other villains that are out there, they do all seem very different. In fact, even changing a few cards in the deck felt a lot different. So when you're playing against a villain, half the deck is going to be from the villain's cards. These are its style of play. And so you're going to have a lot of different varieties of different ways of exploring it. And at the end of the game, you're going to have your own set of cards. But for me, this game has the 1-2 punch of an interesting spin on the deck customization genre with the ebb and flow of that gameplay. Those two factors really made this game a lot of fun for me. And it was in a short playtime, it hit the table a lot for me. This one comes with a strong recommend for me. If any of these genres, like any of these living card games, or Magic the Gathering, or Hearthstone, or any of those games that tickle your funny bone, then this one should as well. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next stop.